Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Awesome.
Awesome, Derek. I love that intro. It's banging.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to have to hook you up with my buddy, Jonathan Sheffield. He's like amazing with the cartoons. He's a great guy, and I'll have to hook you up. Let's apologize to the audience, because what happened was we had to unblur her photo, and it took us so long to unblur it that we finally got it right, and now we can go live. Isn't that right?
Yeah, guys, we were having technical issues, which actually means we were using a software to try and unblur my face. So we apologize.
Right. No, on a serious note, so the guy that you debated, I want to call him a radical fundamentalist Muslim. And he stands for everything I don't in so many ways. I just want to point out, this is his channel, and this is his thumbnail that he literally put on his channel for his Muslim audience. Because, well, why don't we let you, because you know what happened during this debate that made me really feel like, okay, this is not how we're going to let things roll. You didn't get to talk about the things you wanted to talk about. He guided the whole conversation. He kept stepping on you during cross-examination. So why do you think he did this?
Well, first of all, I think that Derek, to be honest, I was a bit shocked in general that Daniel wanted to debate me, because he's the one who goes on like on Twitter and stuff, and he says, unless you have this much of a platform or a following, who you don't even like get onto his radar to be debated against. So I think his intentions to debate me were more like, oh, there's an ex-Muslim who claims to be a feminist as well. Let me kind of go in to demolish and destroy, in the words of Daniel's following. So I think his intention was to come there and obviously try and make it, some of his debates have been so iconic and people have created memes out of them. And I mean, no matter how bad he looks, his intention is always to, try and quote unquote destroy the other person or their credibility. So I think that's kind of the intent that he went in with. And then his arguments because I anticipated, like, what's he going to say to, kind of defend the veil? But his arguments were very much, like I said, an appeal to history, appeal to tradition, looking like cherry picking. This is the problem with Daniel. He cherry picks things from a certain point in history or random studies, and he just uses them to fit with his argument. So yeah, the first, like, the thing that honestly my intention was just, please don't lose your cool with this guy. So when he kind of the bar was so low, Derek, I was like, just stay calm. But when he kind of started to brush off what happened with Mahsa Amini and, you know, her death, and just in general, like things that are happening in Iran and Afghanistan, that was kind of the first low blow when I was like, you're trying to whitewash what most of us have heard and seen horrifically as the way that she died. So again, it was an emotionally charged debate for me in the sense that he is saying things that are just so, like, you know, just obviously untrue, yet there are girls around the world who are being killed in the very name of what he says. So some people had to go at modern day debates as well, but like for saying, why do you platform somebody like Daniel? And their position is like, no matter how crazy the ideas are, we just want to kind of get them out there. Which I also, you know, I don't know, I think that is kind of, it has a good spirit to it. It just, when Daniel can be saying these things without any pushback, and he gets more and more airtime, it is scary. But, you know, I had like his army of Muslim trolls come be unleashed on me, but the pushback has not been so bad.
Well, I'm looking at it, and he has so many views, and I hope, my goal is to get some of our audience to go subscribe to your channel. I mean, the video you posted, the same video he has, and we're going to show something just for everybody before we get even started into the discussion. You got 3.8 thousand views, right? We definitely need to help grow your channel and go support what you're doing, Nuriyah. He had 170,000. I mean, 7.5 thousand likes. And if you look at the nonsense in the chat, I don't know how to spell out, like, I hate this woman, you know, more. Like, they are so angry that you had a voice. And I've heard
you guys. I love you too.
Well, yeah, we want to see you, you know, succeed in getting your voice out there, because I think you and me are going to have a lot in common today. I felt like he also blurred your video. I've heard, because he wants to keep his Muslims from possibly being fall into sin over lust or something, and you're not wearing a head covering, right? So look at what he did for everybody. Look at what he did to her video. This is what took him so long to get on the stream. He pixelated her video where you can't really make out much. I mean, it's all, this is ridiculous. And this is the kind of stuff that, you know, is encouraged in his community. So we are in a ideological warfare, in a sense, against bad ideas. I also have your Twitter up. I hope people will go and subscribe to you on Twitter. It's Nuriyah K, at Nuriyah K. And then you have the YouTube. I want to hit refresh at the end to see these numbers grow. That's my goal. So let's come back and see these grow. You're one of the few supporters that I am a member of the YouTube channel and support of what you do, because it's hard enough being an ex-Muslim for real, and then being an ex-Muslim who's a female. That just adds more icing on the cake. So I'm following your lead, and whatever you feel is on your chest, you want to get off, you want to discuss, I'll follow it. And then if you want, we can take super chats if you're okay with that, like questions, super chats, whatever, during the stream.
Yeah, sure. No, first of all, Derek, you are always, like, you always plug my channel and everything. So I just want to say thank you so much. You really care about increasing my viewership, and it comes from such a good place. So I really, really appreciate that. But yeah, please do go ahead and check out my Twitter and YouTube, as Derek was saying. But yeah, I guess we can kind of go into, first of all, what he did there was, like somebody mentioned in the comments, it's literal erasure. That's what he was trying to do, because we know, like, a woman's stature in Islam anyway. So Daniel does go by, you know, Islam how it should be in its real sense. And yeah, that is so true. He definitely would. Thank you, Inquisitive Mind, for that super chat. But yeah, no, exactly, Derek. So he doesn't shy away from admitting mainstream, like, what Islamic values are. So that was, like, point blank, you know, debating somebody that's trying to erase you and not even treat you like a human being in the very first place. But yeah, moving past that, obviously his argument, like I said, Derek, do you know about Christian Roman history where women were forced to cover to that extent that women are forced to cover in Islam?
I don't know exactly when in history, but I do know head coverings was encouraged even in the New Testament. So it wouldn't shock me. I would imagine there's probably somewhere in the Hebrew Bible as well. And the logic behind this, if anyone investigates the whole reason it's in Paul's letters, is, or at least I think it's in Paul's letters, or it's in one of the epistles, because there's all sorts of different voices that are going on here. One of them literally sees women as baby making machines. So if you reproduce, that is your way to salvation. If you don't reproduce, good luck as a woman. But in this case, it was cover your head so angels don't come down and rape you. So it's like the weirdest, but I imagine there's obviously control behind the very notion as well. But I don't know in history when that was enforced.
Yeah, no, exactly. And to be honest, even though it was like encouraged and, you know, it happened in various empires in history, it was never done in a way that in a perfect Islamic state that it would be mandated in the sense that you would get killed for 2 strands of your hair showing. And the kind of main point that I was trying to distinguish was that in Islam, the hijab and the veil is there as a marker to distinguish between believing women and non-believing women, i.e. slave women who you are free to molest and rape. So there's that huge distinction as well at play. And Daniel, like, again, he just glosses over these massive flaws in Islam and kind of, again, just cites these studies there in the moment that you can't fact check. But yeah, Daniel, do you mind just 1 second? Sorry, I'm not feeling very well. Could I take a moment?
Absolutely. Here, I'll so while she's doing that, I will see what's going on here. Yeshua the King, good to see you in the chat again, Yeshua. Wake up to Islam and realize that the ideology that needs to be exposed, not Christianity. I think Mrs. Khan would agree, maybe some Christian groups, but not Christianity. I think we might have, I mean, what are we talking about when we say Christianity? I would say that Christianity, period, why not expose it if it's false? And if it is harming people, if the idea of people going to hell or how they live their lives in some way is affected negatively. Typically what I see happen, though, is that Christianity evolves to people's ethics and their moral standard so that they have made it pretty. And we see this also, I would say, with some forms of Islam. So you're getting modernized versions that aren't as bad. And to me, if you're going to be a true Christian, you're going to take up your cross and go to martyrdom. You're going to do anything and everything to follow and be like Christ. And I think it wasn't it Nietzsche who said there was only one Christian who ever was, and that was Jesus, or at least one. Jesus himself was the only true Christian. But for me, I'm going to expose anything I think is false. And I get that there's more harmful ideas that might be in radical forms of both Christianity and Islam that need to be addressed. But I would imagine, this is my thoughts, just saying this to you, I know that you're a Christian. So of course you wouldn't feel that Christianity would need to be criticized or picked apart. I'm not an ex-Muslim. I am an ex-Christian. And so my expertise of knowing what I know would be particularly on that subject. However, keep in mind, I have friends who are Christians. We disagree, but they are my friend. What I don't find, I do find radical Christian fundamentalists, they view you as an enemy, like personally. Whereas in Islam, there's a lot more people who view ex-Muslims as enemies. It's like built into the framework. So they have it a lot harder. And with that being said, I definitely stand against these kind of things. So I'm trying the best I can to be balanced and be fair. But if it's bad, I'm going to call it out. And if I think it's not true, I'm going to call it out. And that's what I think also of Christianity. So I really appreciate the support and the super chat. I hope that answer solves that problem. And Nuriyah's back. Here we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Sorry, Derek. I'm not feeling too well, but I'm going to try and push through this.
Okay.
Yeah, so I missed that last thing you were saying on the super chat. But do you want me to comment on it?
Sure, we'll comment and keep rolling. Yeshua the King was saying, wake up to Islam and realize that's the ideology that needs to be exposed, not Christianity. I think Ms. Khan would agree, maybe some Christian groups, but not Christianity. And I just simply said that, like, if it's false, if I don't think it's true, I'm gonna pick apart. There are prettier versions of it. There are lovey-dovey messages. There's things you can learn in Christianity, and I would even go so far as to say maybe even in Islam that you can walk away and go, there's some value to this, something to learn. Does that mean that I couldn't pick it apart or, anyway. But your personal thought as an ex-Muslim and engaged in the world, you probably see Islam as worse. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, 100%. First of all, what you said is like, yeah, okay. So basically where I stand right now is that Christianity has been pacified over the years, it is nothing like what it was once upon a time, and it's not got that forceful power behind it. I think if Christianity was to come into power today, you see glimpses of traditional Christian values being employed, Derek, in your country, in America, and it's just kind of scary, you know, like even Roe v. Wade and all the things that are happening with that. But women having to fight for their most basic fundamental rights in 2023 because of fundamentalists in Christian Bible Belt America. So again, Christianity is also problematic in its very nature. But what I was saying is basically that, you know, over the course of history, the printing press exposed and pacified Christianity. People started to read the Bible in a language of their own and think, you know what, there's so much BS in this. Like, it might be good for, you know, us to kind of keep on our bookshelf and go to church once in a while, but we're not going to enact what this teaches. Whereas Islam is very much going through that phase at the moment. So again, it's the age-old thing since the advent of ex-Muslims that we are saying that what the printing press did to Christianity, the internet is now doing to Islam.
Wow.
But yeah. I'm not sure if you've heard that before, Derek, but it's really relevant because as you can see, like the wave of us ex-Muslims on YouTube and all the other platforms that I'm not even privy to. But the pushback is now like, I would never, Derek, I would never have had the time or the wherewithal or cared probably that much to go to a local imam or cleric and a mosque and like read these hadiths and, you know, like read the tafsir, which is the commentary on the verses of the Quran. But now at my fingertips, I can just search like all like the major commentaries and compare them and highlight them in a moment. But this was all inaccessible. That Quran was very much the book on the shelf. But sorry, to answer the super chat, I completely agree. Islam is the need of the hour religion that is kind of the most fundamental threat to it. It's fundamentally poised against human rights. So it definitely does need to be exposed.
Yeah, I see the threat with Christian nationalism and stuff. If you need to like disappear and you do, I'll just be like popping me back up and then but this is about you. I really want to give you the platform. So I opened an article before we came here, and feel free to run in the middle of talking. Opened an article called Hijab No More, a phenomenological study. And I was looking that up on Google and I was thinking to myself, holy smokes, like, no wonder when girls who are forced to wear it, and you were at one point, maybe you can give a little testimonial of your own personal experience wearing hijab, and then you find out, like, I don't have to wear this. And in fact, you found freedom there. There is a sense of reaction that takes place there. But what Daniel is saying in this debate is that this is a necessary, like, he tried to use evolution to try and like argue against you on this whole point.
The evolution that he doesn't believe in, supposedly, right?
There's a lot of cherry picking here because evolution, right? It's the survival of the fittest, whatever is the fittest in the environment that it's in. But like, as if he found a moment in history, you know what? We were sacrificing humans at that time. You know, we should go back to look at how many civilizations across the world sacrificed humans. The Mayans did it, completely divorced from what was going on in Egypt and what was going on in the Middle East and what was going on over here. We need to go back to sacrificing humans, right, Nuriyah?
No, not just that, Derek. Bring it all back. Bring back slavery. Bring back even the burying your first newborns, especially female newborns. Like, again, this is just most basic appeal to tradition, which again is not it just because something has been practiced over time and for the longest like time in human history does not mean that we need to bring it back. If anything, we come from a different perspective in terms of our morality, right? Daniel thinks that we don't even have a moral compass because our morality keeps changing or progressing. But he is using Islamic morality to cherry pick appeal from tradition, case studies, and history. And by doing that, he's imparting that half of the population is basically considered less and veiled. Yeah. And he is even acknowledging that like men like yourselves, Derek, are the problem. So instead of you not controlling yourselves, it's on us to be able to have to do that. So we can go into how problematic that is as well. But yeah, also just to, like on your point about hijab, that my slight difference in all of this is that it was actually a personal choice of my own. 9-year-old Nuriyah, wanting to be that good Muslim who gets to heaven, thought, oh, if God wants this, then let me do it. So in my case, it was weirdly peculiar because I was actually being encouraged to take it off, which rarely happens. Yeah.
Wow. But when you lived, now you were married at one point. I'm sharing your testimony, right? You were married at one point and you were in, where were you? Did you have to wear hijab when you were there? What country was that?
I was in Dubai when I was married in the UAE. So you don't have to wear, you don't have to cover your head there. Many Emirati women or Muslim women choose to wear the abaya. But where I lived in Saudi before that, it was like obligatory for you to cover your hair, especially when you kind of hit puberty. I'd say like around 12, 13, you're expected to wear it, and you have to wear the abaya regardless when you leave your house.
Right.
So yeah, which was weirder because I had done it voluntarily in England, and then I moved to Saudi Arabia where it was forced. And again, the natural aversion in me was like, why are they forcing it? It was okay when I did it myself. But having to know that you have no choice, it kind of, it does skew things a lot.
I'm just going to give my 2 cents here, and then I'd love to get your thoughts, Nuriyah. I see the hijab as, I get its tradition. I understand that. But I do see it's a weaponized form by a religion which is patriarchal in nature, like through and through, that literally subjugates women and sees them as property. I mean, literally, that is what a woman is in this religion. They are the man's property. And that the hijab is weaponized against women. The whole time you debated him, while I thought that, I also thought the only reason he would defend this, and you're going to hear my saying, and then people in the audience, I think, are going to connect the dots. They can have up to 4 wives. You can't have up to 4 husbands. Now, of course, I would say that they probably try to argue other reasons behind this, but it's like, well, the men are the ones who work and have the money, and like if they can afford to take care of more women, they're actually helping these 3 other women if they already married. Like, you can't tell me this is not like completely built and made for men. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like if Islam gave women, the same kind of fundamental freedoms where you can marry up to 4 men, it would be a different story. But like I'm sure, we see in Mormonism or anything else, like when there's polygamy, it's always there for the man to enjoy. It's never the other way around. And not just that, but again, you're one of 4 wives. A lot of Muslim women have, I'd say it's like inherent Stockholm syndrome, where they kind of justify it, but then you ask them if they'd be happy to be one of 4, and they get disgusted at the very thought. If again you want to apply to appeal to our biological nature or our tendencies, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say like we are all built to be monogamous. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I don't think one-sided polygamy is in the best interest or biologically even accepted by women in general. So yeah, you can completely tell it's made by men for men. And then for me, the origins of the veiling verse, where it came from and the reasons behind it, I will go into that in a second. Derek, give me 1 second, I'll be back.
Yep. All right, so I'm gonna, wrong one, here we go, bear with me. I'm gonna give another shout out to her on subscribe to her YouTube channel. We're gonna refresh this at the end. I did pin it at the top of the chat. And let me come back to me for 1 second here. We got a super chat. I'm gonna get to your super chats here in just a minute. I'd like to have Nuriyah also answer these with me, because to be honest, with one of them, I don't know as many. She would be more aware of some of this material in terms of anti-Islamic groups and stuff. And I'll be getting to those. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. And please like the video, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, and let me know when you have. Press 1 if you have subscribed to Nuriyah's YouTube channel. How about that? In the meantime, while we wait on Nuriyah, press 1 in the chat. I'm watching right now. I'm popping you up on the screen if you press 1. Let me know you subscribed. I'm looking forward to seeing some ones, and then we will continue when she is back. Oh, wow. Everybody coming in fast. Coming in hot. Lots of ladies in the chat. Loving it. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. I really wouldn't be on the screen right now if Nuriyah was feeling okay. I did not want this to be a Derek show. This is more of a Nuriyah, ex-Muslim female. Let's put her on the pedestal. Let's let her have her voice and speak, because so often are ex-Muslims silenced, especially ones who are female. So thank you, everybody in the chat. James, everybody, Rune, Dominus, Greg, Darth, Jackknife, Butter, was that Buttercup? Kiko, Non-Believer, Norse, Shinran, Sam, Y, is 45 still alive? Daka, okay, T, I see you. Sunny S, please go subscribe. Seeds of Iblis, one because I subscribed a year ago. Logan, good to see everybody here in the chat. Zia, Saravana, and Rabbit Set. Thank you. William. All right, there you go. Awesome. I really appreciate you showing up. We're going to refresh here soon. Nuriyah, I am working to do whatever to make sure you're good here, okay?
I know, I really appreciate that, Derek. Sorry, I'm not feeling good, but I did not want to pass up on a stream like this, especially when you're giving me this, like, the platform to say all of this. I hate that I'm feeling so awful, but I'm going to continue. Yeah, I just apologize to your viewers as well. I'm really sorry.
You don't have to apologize. Just, you're fine. Trust me. I promise.
I wanted to
Everybody loves it, so you're good. Don't worry. We're just here to support you, honestly.
Oh, I really, really do appreciate that. But yeah, again, Derek, just to touch on, I'm sure you might have heard of it in passing in some of our conversations, but the origin of the hijab is so embarrassing in Islam. Like, when I realized, thank you, everyone's being so nice in the comments. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. When I first heard about it, I was shocked. Like, I didn't, as a Muslim woman, I thought, okay, this is a commandment from God or whatever. But having looked into the Islamic origins and history of it, it got worse. Like, one of Muhammad's companions, Umar, would actually, like, he was one of the worst, I'd say, like, out of the 4 rightly guided caliphs. He was the most kind of misogynistic, sexist, violent. So he would conduct, like, these sexual raids in the evenings where women were really vulnerable, and he would do that in a area nearby what was called Manasi, which was like a field where Muhammad's wives would go and, like, relieve themselves and answer the call of nature. And Umar was out there one day conducting one of these sexual raids, and he noticed one of Muhammad's wives, who was a tall lady called Sauda. And he had been wanting the veil to come anyway for some time, and Muhammad wasn't really into it. And then he yelled out that day when he saw Sauda, bless her, just relieving herself. And he goes, "Oh, Sauda, like, I've recognized you." And poor woman was so flustered by that as well. She, like, went home and told Muhammad. And then he goes, "Oh yeah, okay, maybe the verse of veiling should be revealed." And after that, Umar goes as far as to, in the hadith, boast about the fact that Allah listened to him when it came to 3 things, and one of those things was veiling. So that just sparks so many questions in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I heard this before, but I'm glad you said it for the audience. It's like, can you imagine an entire system of something like this starts from women defecating in a field and getting seen by men. So the men are like, "Oh, watching your woman defecate. Well, we need to cover these women of ours and make sure that they're not, like, seen. They can't see their body." It's pretty crazy. And how it's been used against women is also wild. I could imagine someone trying to, like, argue against the hadith or the traditions and stuff to just hold on to the Quran only. Now, I understand there are some good arguments to point out later traditions are made up, maybe even for the people. But, like, are you with me in I'm sure you have Muslim friends that are more progressive or Quran onlyist or something that are like trying to find a way to make this balanced. But are you with me in saying, like, do we really even need the Quran? Like, what is the point if you're doing all of that?
Oh, 100%. Also, like, Derek, just to backtrack a little bit, that story of the hijab raises questions as to the creator of the Quran itself. Like, can you really say that that's the word of God transmitted via the angel Gabriel, via Muhammad, through the angel Gabriel? Because if his words have gotten in there, then that kind of, you puts the whole of the Quran into question, and then it puts all of the Islamic claim into question. So you're on very dangerous ground. But yeah, I would agree with you. There's so with veiling, it's very tricky. I wanted to know. Obviously, I thought Daniel would just take the mainstream approach, but with veiling, for example, there's some people go as far as to say like it's not even in the Quran at all, like it's not mandated. And then there's other people, and obviously when you look at some Islamic states, wherever Islam is in power, it is mandated. So
Yeah.
the overarching consensus in Islam is that veiling is mandatory. Derek, I'm so
Imagine. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You can hear me. You can hear me. I guess. I don't know. Let me wait just in case. I really appreciate everybody being patient. Obviously, Nuriyah's not feeling good right now. And I'm going to go ahead and jump up here to these super chats. That's what we'll do. We'll get to the super chats and then we'll go from there. And that way I don't leave everybody hanging here. Let me see. Hold on. Did I pass one of them? Oh, here we are. Okay. So we'll be starting with you, Zachary, and we'll work down through the super chats and continue to move forward. But for me, I mean, there's a lot of apologetics I see going back and forth in defense of trying to, make your religion palpable to modern ethics and what's going on in the West or anything like that. And fundamentalists who have all of this tradition and writings on their side are like, clearly have the upper hand in many ways of trying to argue a lot of this stuff against those who are trying to make a pretty religion. And for me, a lot of people went, why did you go from fundamentalist to becoming an atheist? Like, isn't there a transition? Why didn't you just become a liberal Christian for many, many years or something? For me, when I recognized that bubble popped, I did start to transition, but eventually, I was like, is there anything? And I wonder what that takes for someone who's in Islam, like a Muslim, to then do the same thing with their religion. Is it the same? Is it the same kind of experience that I did when I was a Christian who thought the Bible was God's word, infallible or inerrant, and all of a sudden you just bubble pops and you start to realize maybe I don't even know if there is a God at all? Because one might go, well, Christianity, why didn't you check that? Or why didn't you check Judaism or whatever? I'm wondering what that process is like for the ex-Muslims, which is why I interview ex-Muslims. And I think lots of people have been critical of why do you interview them? They're not experts. Not everything I do is a PhD on MythVision. That's not my thing. I'm interested in hearing people's testimonies, their stories. I relate to people who've left cults. And Nuriyah, when you get back, just pop on, let me know. I am just going to make one more comment about Mormonism. I just had a buddy of mine who is a descendant of William Clayton, who was the scribe of Joseph Smith. And the entire religion, I can't speak the same for Islam to know, but the entire religion of Mormonism, it's foundational, one of the pillars to it. You take the pillar, the house falls down. It's not one of those where one pillar can go, is polygamy. And it's all about the man's wishes. The man can have several wives. He called it spirit marriage. And I see a lot of overlap between what Joseph Smith did in Mormonism and what I'm hearing and seeing going on in Islam. So big questions to ask.
Derek, I'm so sorry. I'm back. I'm going to try. I'll give it one last push, but yeah, I apologize.
You don't have to apologize. I promise you, we're here hanging out, waiting on you. No worries.
I really, really appreciate
Unless you feel so bad you need to go and we want to blast through these and do another follow-up. I mean, we can. I don't want to force you to do anything. That's the goal of this show.
Oh gosh. Okay. Let's see how I go. And if we need to do a follow-up, we can. But let me try and get through our discussion and these super chats. Zachary, thank you so much for your super chat. I'm sure Derek's already answered you. Also, Derek, that stream on Mormonism was bloody fantastic.
Thank you.
It could honestly, it was eye-opening for me. I love looking into these religions that are as I want to just use the word loosely, but as totalitarian as Islam. It's just so to see the parallels are just, it's wow, it really makes me be able to humanize Muhammad more, because I almost see a modern day replica of him, whether it's Joseph Smith or the founder of Satanism, Scientology,
right,
or whatever. It's these extraordinary men who just claim to have this direct command or conversation or knowledge from God. Normally we're looking back to like Jesus and Muhammad telling us to do these things. So that was really, really interesting. But yeah, Zachary, would you consider anti-Islamic movements to be racist motivated or anti-theist motivated? That is a very, very great question. I think it depends who's doing the commentary on Islam. For example, you can get factions like, I'll speak just in the UK context. Here, for example, we had the EDL. They've since changed their name, but it was the English Defence League, who naturally are like a far-right English nationalistic party, and they were very much against Islam. So some of their, like Tommy Robinson is one of their most like outspoken members, and he would go hard against Islamists and in national debates and stuff, but he was not arguing from a position where he thinks, oh, let me argue or talk about Islam because it's detrimental to society. He was coming from a very racist perspective. So he would probably lump in Sikhs and Muslims and let's say anyone from the subcontinent, maybe, that racist that you don't even know whether you're Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, what are you? They're just all brown people who need to be out of our country kind of thing. So it depends who's doing it. For example, when somebody asks me if I'm being racist or tells me I'm being racist because I'm talking about Islam, I like to throw it back in their face and say, Islam is not a race. And Muslims are not one race. What? There's Indonesian Muslims, there's African Muslims, there's Muslims from all over. So those two things, that's again a non sequitur. You can't be racist by calling out Islam. Islam, yes, it's written in the Qurayshi Arabic, and it does advocate for, in a sense, like Arab supremacy and Arab expansionism and I'd say Arab colonialism and imperialism. But in itself, it's not a race. So in terms of like the ex-Muslim movement, I'd say that's an anti-Islamic movement, but I definitely would not like to think that we come from any quadrant related to race. It's purely because it is a anti-theistic, but first and foremost anti-Islam, the message of Islam movement.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Zachary, for the super chat. That's why I needed you to answer it, because I don't know much about the movements that are there. I do know that there are some people who come across kind of only with a negative driven agenda. Everything has to be ugly instead of kind of fairly assessing all the information, in my opinion. And I keep my eyes on that. Daka says, wasn't hijab imposed because some creep followed Prophet's wife when she went outside at night to answer nature's call?
Hells yes. That's exactly why hijab was imposed, which is what I mean. Like a lot of Muslim women, again, like the lollipop fallacy and stuff, flies get attracted to uncovered lollipops. Muslim women have become so desensitized and so comfortable in their position, as Derek mentioned beautifully earlier, as property in Islam. I also like to say a woman in Islam is like, you're just constantly an infant. You are a glorified child for the entirety of your life. But a lot of Muslim women would defend this and say it's like one of the most beautiful things to have happened and how much it protects them and it's part and parcel of respecting women. But when you look at just the basic origins, for me, I found that embarrassing. As a Muslim woman, I had secondhand embarrassment when I realized the origins of the hijab. But It's a shame. That's why one of my first videos, Derek, was to try and show women where it actually came from, because maybe if we can look at the historical context and almost ridicule it, it won't mean so much anymore. It's just a cloth, but it has become like a veil of oppression. If we realize how stupid / how dark / how already sexist and perpetratory behavior that was occurring for Umar to even ask for this to happen, it kind of would I'd hope it would make a woman think twice. Which woman would advocate for that happening to poor Sauda, Prophet's wife?
So much has changed in the world too. I mean, I don't know. There's so many things to get into, but I don't want to keep you too long in case you end up having to go. Critical faculty in the house. Hanny, good to see you here, Hanny. Great to see the brilliant Nuriyah, and thanks, Derek, for all your hard and honest work. Aww.
Oh, thank you, Hani. It's nice to see you as well. I will hit you up on Twitter. I know we need to talk, but we'll do something for sure soon. But thank you for your support.
Subscribe to Critical Faculty. Seriously. Again, he's back. Hijab is a slap on the face of humanity, both women and men.
Oh yeah, 100% agree with that. I mean, for me, like Derek, you tell me as well, but like for me, it makes me think that it even kind of says to men, like, you have zero control. You're beyond evolving, and you know, like it's kind of like, yeah, men are that weak that we need to cover up just so they can keep it in their pants. Like, are you guys that weak, Derek?
No, I look as a man, and I consider myself like coming from that hardcore military background. We have passions, without a doubt. They're passions, and we have thoughts. And this is complete. I talk about this all the time with my deconversion. And one of the things I struggled with was pornography, and the struggles throughout the years of like, am I God's child, and that kind of stuff, this sin that I had. Never once was I like, I need to go and like take this woman because she, if anything, I would like go in private and probably like think about these things and then lust in my mind. But like the act upon the people who would act upon these things or do those kind of things, that, I mean, I'm being absolutely transparent here. Like, if you have to go out of your way and have people covered because you're just too, no, I mean, I've heard statistics that Muslim countries that are literally ruled with the law of Islam, if you will, or that's how they do things, like Saudi Arabia or whatever, have like higher pornography rates than other countries. And you go, why is that? Do you have to wear a hijab on your internet browser? Because like, what is it that's making you do these things? I think we all have it. In fact, the next super chat touches this. Weird, coming from a Christian, but doesn't a nudist community prove the hijab isn't necessary to keep people from rape, lust, etc.? I don't know about lust in the mind, but not everyone thinks the same way, you know? And I consider myself someone who has pretty good testosterone. Like, so it's like, why would you, you know, I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, and Derek, sorry, I think we are gonna have to cut this short. I'm really not feeling good. I apologize. We can like do a follow up, but it's not fair to the audience as well if I keep.
No, I don't want you to suffer here.
But I did also want to say, like, in terms of the pornographic rate, that point is bang on. If you look at countries like even the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, it's got one of the highest porn consumption rates in the world. But not just that, Derek, like the categories of porn that they search are some of the most like heinously like just horrible. Like, you know, they're searching up bestiality and things like that. So that is meant to be an Islamic country where women are already barely seen in the public sphere, but yet the men, the teenage boys, are there and they're looking at people, you know, having sex with goats and things like that because they're that far gone from women anymore. Wow. But I think this is definitely something we need to deep dive into. There's so much.
We need to look. I got to let you go. But Grace says, "Do you think it's wrong to share images of Muhammad on the internet on purpose?" I don't think so, but I also don't purposely go out of my way to like create cartoons to try. But then again, that's not my agenda. But what are your thoughts?
Same. I think absolutely do it. It needs to be done, especially when teachers are being, you know, forced into hiding. And people are being amputated, like having their head cut off in France and stuff because of this. Like, absolutely, it needs to be done. We need to desensitize the Muslims for themselves about not taking lives over a cartoon. But as Derek said, first of all, I am an ex-Muslim and I'm already vocal and my life is kind of already on the line. So just for safety reasons, I also don't go out of my way to do it. But every time I have caught myself putting like a picture of Muhammad, even as a thumbnail, it's other people who have stopped me and said, whoa, make sure you want to do that. And I've just kind of reined it in. But as Derek said, I already vocalized so much about Islam. I don't go out of my way to do it. But the people who are putting it out there, I'm very much behind the need to desensitize Muslims. Yeah.
We're letting you go. I didn't want to leave anybody super chat hanging. And I'm going to refresh it anyway, just to see how many subscribers. What's your favorite piece of Abrahamic literature?
Oh, that is such a good question because I've not read them all. The Quran, I'd say, is probably down there with one of the worst. But I still have to get through some more of the scriptures to give you some feedback. I'm sure there's some books as part of the Bible which I've heard are very, very good. Like Derek, there's some that are way more like realistic and fun than others, right? So I'd love to read Acts maybe, or one of those in more detail, just to get a feel for what's going on.
There's all sorts of crazy stuff out there. And
yeah.
Anyway, Grace, thank you so much for that. And Nuriyah, we're going to refresh here. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up and we're going to get you out of here so you can go and recover. I hate that you're sick. And I know that was one of the reasons you weren't here earlier. So I didn't see much of an increase. It was 15.4. Let's hope after the stream there's more. Let's plan another follow-up and actually go through maybe some of the arguments that we didn't cover in this debate.
Yes, definitely. Fatih and other people in the chat are saying, please do a part 2. I promise you we'll do a part 1, because I understand. I realize this wasn't even a proper part 1, but yeah, I'm not feeling very well. So I will go. Thank you all for putting up with me. And sorry, Derek, for kind of making this an in and out stream, but I will do a proper rundown on this with you. Thank you.
She owes us. I'm not forcing her. There's no compulsion here. Okay. Thank you, Nuriyah. All right. Everybody hit this. Subscribe to Nuriyah. All right.
Thanks, Derek.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.